The tour began in Romania, a country that is a study in contrasts. On the one hand, the Rapid City group saw hundreds of modern new apartments under construction everywhere. But on the other hand, they saw signs that the standard of living here is still very poor. Everywhere you look, you see signs praising the Communist Party and Romania's President Ceausescu. The Rapid City group stayed in a magnificent hotel which was once a royal palace for Romania's prince.
The LENNINGRAD Hotel, which in English means Swan Hotel, was built during 16th century, and it was the home of Romanian prince named Ion Ghica.
Oh, I like it. It's really nice.
We've had a few problems, but I think all in all the kids had a really good time at the Black Sea Resort. I think they enjoyed themselves a lot. It was good for them to rest and relax, and they gave a really nice performance in the hotel. The people were appreciative. They were very curious about us because I think we were one of the few Americans to ever have visited that resort, and they're very curious about all our girls with the long blonde hair. And, this place has been really nice. People have treated us so well.
But the real business of this tour is music. The band and orchestra performed in the Bucharest Music Conservatory over the weekend to an audience that knows and appreciates music. The next stop on the tour is Moscow, the capital of the Soviet Union, a place in the midst of the most serious political change since the Bolshevik Revolution. Dan Schillinger, KEVN Action News 7, Bucharest, Romania. The students and adults from Rapid City saw the Soviet Union's most well-known landmark. This is the place where the Soviets celebrate communism. It used to be a place few Americans saw, but now tens of thousands of U.S. citizens come here because the Soviet government is actually encouraging tourism. They need to. The Russian economy is a shambles with shortages of almost all consumer goods and prices many Soviet citizens just can't afford. But it's not just Americans coming here. When they visited this 16th century monastery, the Rapid City group met people from Japan, England, Denmark, and other countries. This is where the Soviet government profits from tourists. Official state stores that welcome U.S. dollars. The Rapid City students spent freely, buying everything from Lenin paperweights
You'll have to pick one of these up, maybe the extra jumbo size.
To Coca-Cola.
I'm not carrying the instrument or the suitcase. I'm carrying the Coke. He's carrying the suitcase and the instrument.
Yeah.
I'm carrying the Coke. This is my Coke. This is America.
But what does glasnost mean to the people who live here? According to some we talked to, not very much. They say the policy is aimed more at those from the outside, from America, Britain, France, and other countries, and that the impact of it hasn't reached the average Soviet citizen yet. Dan Schillinger, KEVN Action News 7, Moscow.
There's more room on the other side. That will come in further.
About every third day, this is what the Rapid City group has to do. Pack and move dozens of string basses, cellos, drums, and other instruments into trucks and buses. Check them through customs, and then bring them into halls and set them up. It's a massive job, and incredibly, nothing has been lost or broken.
Well, it's a lot of sweat for one thing, but we do have a system where we number each piece of equipment and boxes and cases and so forth, and these are on a manifest that we assign students to take care of each one of those. They have their numbered box or case that they have to carry when it's time to move something, and so this is the way we do it.
This is Moscow's Orlyok Hotel Auditorium, one of the best concert halls in all of Russia. The students perform before a sparse but appreciative audience. From here, all of that equipment had to be packed up and shipped by train to Leningrad, north of here, a place where the sun never sets during this time of year. After that, it's on to Vienna, Austria, and then back home to Rapid City. Dan Schillinger, KEVN Action News 7, Moscow. This is the Iron Curtain. It may not look like much, but it is still very much a symbol of the sharp divisions between the communist and free worlds. As the group passed from communist Hungary into free Austria by bus, they were grateful to be back in a place that was at least a little bit familiar.
It felt really good. It's nice to see the cars and just everything. It's a real experience in those eastern countries, but it was good to be back. Civilization is awesome.
This was the band and orchestra's final performance of the tour in front of Vienna's City Hall before a large and appreciative audience. One 82-year-old man even came up from the audience to help direct. One of the parents said the kids will remember moments like this long after they've forgotten about the endless waiting in line and bad food. In Leningrad, the Rapid City group saw firsthand what led to the Russian Revolution. While the czars lived in opulent palaces like this, the common people were starving in the streets. When you see something like this, it's easy to understand how communism was born. But after the revolution, and especially after World War II, the communists needed propaganda to keep the people in line. And you still see plenty of propaganda today in television shows that glorify the Russian military and in endless talk shows which promote the government. But many of the Rapid City music students found things weren't as bad in Russia as they'd expected.
I almost expected the Russians to be kind of mean to us, not like us or whatever, because the two countries have gone through so much, but they seem pretty open to us, and I haven't heard anyone call anyone names or anything.
Probably the most important thing that any students get out of a trip like this is the opportunity to meet people from another culture and experience the kind of life that those people have. The main reason we do the kind of programs that we do for students is to provide them with that opportunity, because we really believe that by understanding how another culture operates and how other people live, this is the beginning of the makings of peace and understanding in the world.
20, compromise 25. $20?
One thing everyone in the group learned quickly was how the Soviet black market works. While the Bank of Russia trades 1.5 rubles per dollar, Russian teenagers offered up to 12 rubles per dollar. And they sell a bizarre assortment of tourist trinkets out of their cars, despite the threat of 8 years in a Siberian labor camp for doing so.
I gotta live.
You pay 20, compromise 25.
I gotta get home yet.
Давай. Two. Like in a box. $45.
Two of them for 45?
Yes, 45.
You want one of them? Let's go $45.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Focus 30, the Action News 7 monthly magazine program. I'm Dan Schillinger. Last week, a group of nearly 200 Rapid City music students and adults returned from an extraordinary trip through Eastern Europe. Tonight, over the next half hour, we'll put that trip in perspective for you. We'll take you through the entire 17-day journey, show you what we learned about the economy, politics, and lifestyles of the Eastern Bloc countries, and we'll hear from the Rapid City students about their impressions of these places. You'll also hear some of the music they performed in Moscow, Leningrad, and Vienna. Our trip begins in 2 minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back to this special edition of Focus 30. Tonight, a look back on the trip by some 200 Rapid City folks behind the Iron Curtain. The students and adults didn't even have to leave the United States to get their first taste of a foreign experience. It happened on the ground at New York's Kennedy International Airport. They waited in anticipation for the long plane ride to Romania. They talked casually about what they expected from the trip.
I'm looking to see how how things are different in Russia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The people also seem really interesting.
I mean, I'm gonna grow.
Well, this is a great experience. It really is. Isn't it interesting how everything is so terribly unorganized already?
But no one was prepared for Terom Airlines, the Romanian government's air carrier. The planes bore a striking resemblance to some World War II leftover. 200 Americans crammed into seats that were more like lawn chairs, with little legroom and few noticeable amenities.
This. A little flimsy.
The flight crew spoke very little English, but the students didn't seem to mind, even though they remained jammed in this small plane for 9 long hours as we crossed the Atlantic and Western Europe. The first stop on the trip was COSTINESTI on Romania's beautiful Black Sea coast. This is a summer camp for Romania's better students. Here they are indoctrinated in communist philosophy while they enjoy the sun-drenched beaches.
Well, it's to assure for the youth a place of recreation, let's say, and a place of meeting, because this is an international camp, and I think that it's an ideal place for people from around the world to meet and make friendships and talk and know each other.
The Eastern Bloc countries use camps like this to reward kids who don't cause trouble. This is where the future leaders of the country are taught whatever the government wants them to know. But most of the Romanian students didn't seem to mind. And it didn't take long for the Rapid City students to learn the first lesson of traveling behind the Iron Curtain. When school photographer Scott KREBER tried to snap a picture of some Romanian soldiers, he discovered why tourists are always advised against that.
We were walking past a couple of the Romanian officers who were sitting on a bench, and we were probably 10 or 20 feet away from him, and I turned around to snap a picture. And just as I lined up, he turned around and saw me snap it, and he rushed up to me, demanded the film. I rewound it into the cartridge. He tried to pull the leader out to destroy my film, and after he couldn't get it out of the cartridge, he sat it on the ground and stepped on it.
Another lesson everyone in the group learned quickly was about food. Spoiled Americans, accustomed to having nearly anything they want whenever they want, soon find it doesn't matter how much money you have in an Eastern Bloc country. There are some things you just can't get, like a hamburger or pizza or a cold drink.
It was interesting. I thought the tea was good and the jelly, but the little wieners. Seriously, we had hot dogs for breakfast and
we had pancakes
for dinner last night. So I don't know what's going on.
That doesn't make sense.
The students performed their first concert that night at a hall in a small town not far from COSTINESTI. The next stop on the tour was Constanța, an important Black Sea port, where the Rapid City group discovered some of Romania's rich history, mosques and churches dating back to the time of Christ.
It was completely reconstructed in 1910 by King Charles I of Romania. The cross is the altar that always points Mecca. We may not have no kind of images or statues in our churches. Only Arabic scriptures.
I think I just took a picture of me walking up the steps.
Nice hike, huh?
Oh, lovely.
It's great. Oh. Unreal.
An outdoor concert planned that night was canceled because of the rain, but the jazz band brought in a huge crowd back at the resort at KOSTINESTI.
They gave a really nice performance in the hotel. The people were appreciative. They were very curious about us because I think we were one of the few Americans to ever have visited that resort, and they were very curious about all our girls with the long blonde hair. And, this place has been really nice. People have treated us so well, and they're just very careful with us. The guides are funny, and they know how to work with young people, and they make it fun and educational at the same time. I think kids have seen a lot, and they're going to see a lot more. I think they're doing pretty well.
The next day, the Rapid City group found itself housed at a magnificent hotel in Bucharest, Romania's capital. This place was once the home of Romania's ruling monarchs.
The KREBER Hotel, which in English means Swan Hotel, was built during 16th century, and it was the home of a Romanian prince named Ion Ghica. So it was closed for several years.
Romania is a strange place. On every country road, you see horse-drawn wagons and old women working the fields with hand tools. But modern high-rise apartments are under construction everywhere in an effort to solve the country's severe housing problem. And everywhere you see signs proclaiming the glory of President Ceausescu, one of the Eastern Bloc's most repressive communist leaders. We weren't allowed to photograph them, but soldiers with automatic weapons are another common sight in this country. We were told the soldiers are there to protect the borders from invasion. But one wonders what good they'd be against the Soviet army. President Ceausescu's picture even hung over the stage as the Rapid City Band and Orchestra students performed that night in Bucharest. From Bucharest, the Rapid City group traveled northeast to the heart of the Soviet bloc, Moscow, a place that's in the middle of some very big political changes. We'll go back to the USSR with the group right after this. Welcome back to a special edition of Focus 30, the Action News 7 monthly magazine program, as we look back on the trip by nearly 200 Rapid Cityans behind the Iron Curtain. The second leg of the journey was the Soviet Union, a place where glasnost has made tourism easier. Easier, but not easy. After an incredible 3-hour wait to clear customs at the Moscow airport, the exhausted travelers arrived at Moscow's Molodozhny Hotel, a student hotel more like an American college dormitory.
This is going on TV back home. We don't want to look like scrubs, okay?
Uh-oh. This would be your average Russian room. It consists of 3 beds, hospital smell, and what else we got here, guys?
Got 3 glasses.
3 glasses and a radio that doesn't work.
Hometown Charmin always
The
carry.
radio of your average opera in the communist country. Where is it, guys?
You gotta turn it on.
Okay, there you go. There, well, not exactly. There you go.
There we go.
And
the public bath.
yeah,
Let's take public bath.
Public bath, let's see this.
Take a tour.
Note, the public bath. This is shared by 5 people between 2 rooms, folks.
yeah, it's amazing.
The public bath.
That's real good.
We still don't know what this would be for though.
Bidet.
Bidet?
Moscow is not a particularly attractive city. It's marked by endless high-rise apartments and plenty of smog. The people of the city seemed about as friendly as your typical New Yorker. But it is a city with a rich history. Mosques and churches are now museums for tourists. Our Soviet guides explained that while religion may not be important here, the government does want to preserve these places for historical reasons. And in fact, it was obvious the Soviet government is spending a small fortune fixing up the old buildings, ironic in light of the country's severe economic problems. This is a place the Soviets hope will pump American tourist dollars into their faltering economy. It's a dollar shop where American currency is welcome. Here, the Rapid City group bought a variety of souvenirs and something that had been totally unavailable till now, Coca-Cola in cans.
In the USSR, it means it's better than Pepsi. It means we get a drink, but it's all warm.
Are you going to carry all of that and a suitcase and an instrument?
I'm not carrying the instrument or the suitcase. I'm carrying the coat. He's carrying the suitcase and the instrument.
Yeah.
I'm carrying the coat. This is my coat. This is America.
But don't expect it to be cold. Everything here is warm. This, of course, is Moscow's most familiar landmark, Red Square, with St. Basil's Cathedral in the background, serving as a constant reminder of the country's former love of churches. And Lenin's tomb, where the students saw the body of the late leader encased in glass, a sight which it is strictly forbidden to photograph. The Moscow concert was held at one of the country's best concert halls in the Orlyok Hotel. This is where the Bolshoi Ballet tapes its television programs, but the crowd was sparse and the students disappointed. From Moscow, the students boarded an overnight train to Leningrad. The unique experience of traditional European sleeping compartments was not very conducive to sleep this night, as the kids wandered from car to car, enjoying every moment of the trip north.
I will trade with you. Give me music tapes for Russian for one Soviet t-shirt.
Rolls here in Moscow, they say are mighty fine. One rolled off the table and killed a friend of mine. I don't want no more of Moscow life. Gee, Mom, I want to go, but they won't let me go. Gee, Mom, I want to go home.
It takes 8 hours for the train to travel from Moscow to Leningrad. We arrived early the next morning to a city as different from Moscow as New York is. Here you find few high-rise apartments. Instead, the inner city has been preserved much as it was at the turn of the century when Vladimir Lenin and his associates boldly stormed the Tsar's palace and seized control of this vast country. This was the summer palace of the royal family, a huge estate on the Gulf of Finland which rivals Versailles for opulence. It's here that communism really began, as starving people gazed up at the incredible riches Russia's elite had accumulated at the expense of the poor. But the Soviet government maintains these palaces very well as a constant reminder of what imperial rule does to the masses.
Over there is the sea canal. So while Peter I was living here, they used to have to sail to the palace through the canal, and guests would be arriving to the palace and they were met there by Peter.
The kids got an unexpected break here, a quick wade into the Gulf of Finland to cool off.
You were kind of waiting in the Bay of Finland when you signed on for this trip?
No, not really. It's so darn hot, though. I'm ready to strip down and go swimming.
This time of year is called the White Nights in Leningrad. It's a time when the sun does not set until after midnight, where the sky is never totally dark, and where sunrise comes just a couple of hours later. It's a time when the people of Leningrad take long walks along these historic streets late into the night. And it was a time for the Rapid City kids to reflect on what they were learning from this long trip halfway around the world.
I guess when I read the books, they were kind of outdated. I had visions of the old ladies stooped over in the streets and everything, and that there'd be a lot of long lines. And I don't think I've seen that many typical Russians out, you know. And the kids I've seen my age really aren't any different than we are. I expected them to be kind of behind the times, but yeah, they're pretty much the same as us.
A lot of them seem really eager to do the black market with you. I don't know. They don't expect you to be worried about trading on the streets.
Probably the most important thing that any students get out of a trip like this is the opportunity to meet people from another culture and experience the kind of life that those people have. The main reason we do the kind of programs that we do for students is to provide them with that opportunity, because we really believe that by understanding how another culture operates and how other people live, this is the beginning of the makings of peace and understanding in the world. And that's the most important thing that we do. Through music, which is really a universal language, American students and people from Romania, Soviet Union, and all over the world are able to communicate on a level that is far greater than words. And it's a very important part of a student's education, and it's a very important thing that we can do worldwide to promote understanding.
After Leningrad, it was back on another overnight train for the return trip to Moscow, and then the flight back to Romania. There was one more night for the Rapid City group behind the Iron Curtain. We stayed at a modern new hotel in the city of Timisoara, close to the Hungarian border. The next morning, the group packed into buses for a day-long drive across yet another Eastern Bloc country, Hungary. Here, it was obvious the economy and the standard of living are much better than in Russia or Romania. Hungary is the freest of all the Eastern Bloc countries, and its proximity to Western Europe has had a great influence. Cities like Budapest, the capital, look comfortable and warm. But by the end of the day, the Rapid City group was glad to cross the Iron Curtain back into the free world, in this case, Austria. We'll be back with the last leg of the trip in a moment. Welcome back to a special edition of Focus 30 devoted to the recent trip by some 200 Rapid Cityans to Eastern Europe. The final leg of the journey was Vienna, Austria, and the students were very glad to finally be in a place